school. What's up? TheInsaneGamefreak here. I want to know, what's your anime history? Let's go. So yo, what's up guys? TheInsaneGamefreak here. I haven't actually worn one of these hats in a while, and I think that's overdue. God damn it, wearing the chopper hat, motherfucker. Yeah, boy. Anyways, this if everyone's been with me since the gaming channel, you know of the whole why do you like anime discussion that seemed to really get myself out there for whatever reason. And this is kind of a follow-up correlation connection video with that. Essentially what this is your anime history. I don't want to know I want to know your anime story. You know how people have YouTube stories? I want to know your anime story. Now what I mean by this is essentially, I don't want to know the first fucking anime you watched, because it's going to be almost the same fucking thing for every person. I want it to be, what was the show that made you look it up, get into that, and then find out about anime from correlation with that show. To give you an example, the show I found out, the anime show I watched that made me go, damn, let's look up more of this, got on the internet and went, oh, this is an anime? What the fuck is anime? And get into anime. That was One Piece for me. So my anime history starts from 2004, essentially, when it came on 4Kids. I liked the show so much, I started going on the internet to look up shit about it. I found out it was an anime, went and looked up anime, and I was like, whoa. I want to know that. I want to kind of know your anime history, essentially. Your anime story. I might just call this YouTube anime story. Yeah, that sounds like a good title. YouTube anime story. Let me hear your YouTube anime story. So that's, honestly, so I'm going to go ahead and then, you know, you can answer some other sub-questions, like what was your first experiences with certain things. Now, that was the anime that got me into anime. Now, with anime in general, I'm going to give you my experiences with certain genres and certain things I ran into. My first, and I'm going to do this with a lot of things, just, you know, flesh it out a little bit, you know, get the community a little bit more active with each other, because this is something anybody can make a video about. My first experience with AMVs was with One Piece, because I was looking up One Piece videos on YouTube, and I ended up finding this one. I remember a lot of these, and they're not even on the internet anymore. The first AMV I ever saw was a Sanji AMV, ironically, and it was an AMV from like different portions. I think it covered everything until I think Alabasta, and then even included some shit from movie 3. It was just, and it was a Linkin Park Breaking the Habit AMV. You know, back then when all the goddamn AMVs had some Linkin Park shit in it. Like almost everybody who made AMVs had one Linkin Park AMV. Well, this was the first one I found. I found that. I also found a couple of. I remember a YouTuber who made AMVs. He was German, and his name was Luffy90. And that dude made an ass amount of fucking One Piece AMVs. It's ridiculous. I actually still have a couple of his shit on my computer and on my fucking PS3. He made like AMVs of the movies, songs I had never heard of. I think that was how I was introduced to one of the songs called Dogfight by Move, which I saw on a One Piece movie 4 AMV by him, and that was crazy. And that was my first experience with AMVs. I didn't start going, and I went from that and I delved in deeper, and I found a whole bunch of other shit. Now, on top of that anime experience, I'm gonna go into my first hentai experience. And a lot of people, it seems like a lot of people's first hentai experience was fucking Bible Black. That was not my first hentai experience. My first hentai experience, I believe, the first hentai clip thing I saw was something called like Blue Moon or some shit. And the clip, it wasn't even like a full video, it was just like a random clip I had found, where this chick was like turning into a werewolf, and you're thinking, how is that hentai? The hentai portion is that this was the first time I had seen like a naked anime woman, and I was like, what the fuck am I watching? And she turned into a werewolf, but she was trying to stop the transformation, and apparently, according to the video, now mind you, this is hentai, so don't really expect this to be any weirder than it is. She had to like masturbate. She had to like masturbate to stop the transformation. So it's like her masturbating while mildly turning into a werewolf. It was one of the weirdest fucking things I saw. which kind of goes into my hentai history, which essentially was I had seen random clips. I also seen something called Angel Blade, which was really fucking weird, where I saw like a little girl turn into like a big girl, and it was really awkward because it was like all naked transformation shots. But the first like straight up hentai I watched was and I remember this clearly just because of how fucking ridiculous it was. It was something called Marina Go-Go, and from the premise of that show was essentially, it was like this. It was. This is when I found out English dubs for hentais were horrible. It was like the goal of the main girl was to have sex with like 100 men and collect the semen for 100 men to preserve the children and the future of Japan, and it was really fucking weird because she was like a ditzy main character, even though she wasn't blonde, surprisingly, and she had to go against this sex android in like a sex competition. It was the weirdest shit I ever seen. That was my first hentai experience. My first horror experience in anime had to be when I first watched Elfen Lied. Elfen Lied was my first horror. Was my first Elfen Lied. Elfen Lied was my first horror anime experience. And if you know what Elfen Lied is, you know Elfen Lied is a horrible first impression of horror anime. And I blatantly looked that up out of just curiosity. I had never seen. At that point, I wasn't watching anything. I wasn't watching that much anime. At the most, I was watching Zatch Bell, One Piece, Naruto, and Mare. I wasn't watching that much in terms of like violent, like I wasn't watching that much dark shit. Elfen Lied and When That Girl were like the first two shows I got into. And if you know, those two shows are fucking horrible. When That Girl has a whole bunch of child murder in it, and Elfen Lied is just gory as fuck. They're both gory as fuck, but like, I don't know if it was just you, if it was just me, but has anyone like ever noticed like the first horror anime they ever watched was the closest I got? You either cried at or it was the closest. Like the first anime you watched, if you were younger anyway, the first horror anime you watched, I almost cried during Elfen Lied. Elfen Lied was one of the few shows that almost brought me to tears because of how fucking depressing and dark that shit is. And if you've heard the opening for Elfen Lied, you know. That is, oh my Jesus Christ. That's why I like the show, but Jesus Christ, that is so draining. That was like one of my first horror experiences with anime. That was truly disturbing. My first the first ecchi experience, and you're thinking hentai and ecchi, those should go in hand in hand. They really don't. Ecchi was something that threw me off completely, where it was so subtle that it was weird. I guess my first romance and ecchi series I watched was Mahabaraho, which is why it's one of my favorites, even though it's not necessarily groundbreaking on any level. Mahabaraho was one of those first series that really touched me for weird reasons. I was not used to watching romance with multiple girls in a series before, and I marathoned Mahabaraho in the course of a weekend. Like, back when I was doing my videos in the computer room, which is the room actually across from the room I'm in right now, I used to share the computer with my sister, and I used to get on, and that's how I found everything, actually. Luckily, the door was locked for certain points, like the hentai shit, because you damn sure couldn't have. I think I crashed one of our computers because I looked that up once. Because I wasn't that familiar with computers, and I was really bad when it came to spyware and shit. But when I first watched Mahabaraho for the first time, that was weird for me, because that was the first anime that was so, like, developed in love and shit. And it was actually one of those, like, if you ever notice your first animes in certain genres always left a weird feeling in you because you never were used to that kind of shit before. Elfen Lied did that in terms of horror and fear and disturbingness and depression. Like, I'm sorry, I got a little depressed after finishing Elfen Lied. Mahabaraho left like this weird feeling when I was just like, I felt like I was tripping on acid. Like, have you ever got that feeling when you finish a show that was something you had totally not watched before, and it just threw you out of your comfort zone? Because that's how I felt with Mahabaraho. I felt even worse with Elfen Lied, though. Elfen Lied was just like, Jesus Christ. Like, I thought I had died. Elfen Lied took me like 2 years to finish because, not Elfen Lied, When They Cry took me like 2 years to finish because I had to take breaks in between seasons because of how fucking ugh that series is so ugh. And it's so disturbing. To me, that those are the series that will take you out of it. One Piece was like the first series I ever got severely pumped in. Naruto was second, but One Piece really got me pumped, and that was one, like, I think almost every first of every genre of a series leaves some type of feeling in your heart. And that's the one thing I like about anime in general, but that's getting into another thing. But that's my anime history, essentially, is that my history in general was me finding One Piece in 2004 and me liking the show so goddamn much that it made me go online to look up more. And it's the sole reason, and I will admit that, it's the sole reason that I am so into anime right now. And people wonder why it's my favorite. It's my favorite because it sparks so much into me as a person. That's why it's my favorite. I think almost everybody's favorite anime does that. Where it's usually most people's favorite anime is usually either the first anime they've seen, or the first anime that got them into anime. That's why people like Yu Yu Hakusho and Dragon Ball Z so much, because those are usually the ones that spark the interest into the series. Not saying I didn't look up shit for Dragon Ball Z either. I mean, I used to do that. I don't know if y'all ever did this when you were younger. Did y'all ever like take the Dragon Ball Z pictures, like print out Dragon Ball Z pictures, and like have like a fucking binder of just random Dragon Ball Z pictures? I do that shit all the fucking time. I had like pictures of Goku and fucking Vegeta and fucking Bulma and shit. Like I used to have just a whole bunch of fucking. I used to have like a big ass binder of pictures from every show. Had like pictures of. I used to do that with One Piece characters. I used to like in 2004, 2005. I used to go online and print out pictures of like Zoro doing like these moves, and like that's the whole anime history to me. That's the phases I went through. I went through like the phase of watching it on TV, then collecting the pictures, then getting into AMVs, and then after I got into AMVs, I got from there and I went to like anime itself, and that's when you're introduced to different genres like horror, comedy, romance, ecchi, harem, hentai. It was a weird fucking experience, but god damn it, I will say I have never had so much fun watching cartoons in my life. I never thought, like, the one thing I will say about the history of my personal history of anime, I did not realize how much fun watching cartoons would ever be. I mean, you had your shit with SpongeBob that was cool, or your Courage the Cowardly Dogs, or your Teen Titans, but god damn it, you go watch some of the shit in anime, and it will have you rolling. It will have you rolling. So that's my anime history, guys. And then you know what I would love? I would love video responses to just tell me how it kind of impacted you, not why you like it, but how was your experiences with certain things. I gave the examples with hentai and fucking horror or ecchi and shit, and romances are really weird to me. Like, had me tripping. Working still. I mean, that's the thing I like about watching new animes blind. That's why a lot of the DVDs I bought are blind shit. I never I had never saw Working before I got the box set. The same thing with Toradora. The same thing with Oh My God. It's the same thing with, I'm trying to see now. The same thing with Ranma. And the same thing with Kanokon. The same thing with Needless. I like buying my shit blind because it's so much fun. That's the thing about anime I always will love, is that I go into it not knowing anything, and it's fun as hell. And I enjoy the shit out of it. Recently, it's been not as fun because of certain series I'm watching, but besides that, it's a fun experience, and that's one of the reasons why the anime history to me will always be important. That is why it's so fucking important to me. That's why anime is so fucking important to me, because it's one of those things that it kind of shaped me as a person. I like the ideals in certain shows. I like the mind fucks in certain shows. And I like the experience. I like how I'm always intrigued by what the fuck is going on. But I'm going into ramble mode. So, in comments or video responses are always welcome. As I said, there's a Facebook fan page down there. There's a Twitter. There's a Blog TV. There's a Blip. There's a Skype name down there. All that fun shit. And, like, favorite, comment, rate, subscribe if you want to. If you choose to. But anyways, that will do it for me. So life's a game, play to win, and I'll catch you guys later. Tell me, what's your anime story?